Right, it's 45 to 49 foot-pound. So let me just get my line the torque wrench up to, that's 40, 5, 47. Okay, so what we've got, it's 27mm nut, got the little reducer on there. So a slight oil on the thread to ensure we get the correct, no drag, and we get the correct torque. Okay. Right. Now obviously all this is going to want to do in a minute is turn. Okay, so we're going to have to find a way of locking the teeth. Okay, so we're nearly there. The teeth jammed in the gear. I'm going to have to get hold of this where I can, unfortunately. So here we go. I wonder if we just rotate backwards we can get that without them taking any torque off the... Yeah, if we go back that way again we can actually see the damper springs in the clutch. Okay, so there we go. I'm still engaged a little bit. There we go. Right, so the nut is now, just let me wind that torque off the torque wrench. The nut is now torqued up to Honda spec, smack in the middle of their torque settings, or setting. Right, clutch, compress the spring, this diaphragm spring now, so these plates now are together, okay? The clutch is compressed on it. What we now have is lift the plate, this hasn't actually been washed yet, but I think we can sort of just do a bit of a wipe with a rag with this. It's all been covered up. So yeah, here's our lifter with a bearing that actually sits in this cover. When you get it exactly lined up. It's funny how they just fall out, isn't it? But there you go. Okay, so there's the lifter. So even as if the clutch push rod is stood still and the engine's obviously turning as it's even got a bearing. Okay, so that is a precision machine that fits just inside there, like that. Okay, so what we do now have is the clutch push rod that sits in there, and it can actually, in fact what I will do, I'm just going to have to move that for a second through the seal on the other side. That now sits in there. Okay, when I first saw one of these I thought, oh my god, that's Circlip. I bet if you just press that the whole thing just explodes, but actually it doesn't. The nut is actually holding and retaining all the clamping force of the springs to the plates. So I just need my vacuum Circlip pliers, as good as you can. I prefer vacuum stuff personally, but that's just a personal, no way associated with them. So yeah, just a second a minute, I'm going to turn. Now that's like little rotating pins in the top that you can okay. it's not ready yet. Just give me 2 seconds. I know this should be prepped earlier, but hang on, we're nearly there. We just rotate round these little pins just due to being in the drawer. So we want that one that way. Yeah, I mean it's kind of a good idea. I mean the little pins actually rotate round, but there we go. So with the forces exerted on the clip, I need them that way around so the clip doesn't slip off. If you've ever experienced that, but there we go. So that should now maintain. You watch, it'll fly off in workshop, never to be seen again. Okay, so actually just looking at that, yeah, it was in. In fact, to be honest, it's difficult to say which way it was in. I would say possibly that way inside. I don't think it really matters. So we're just going to fingers out of the way, and he says, there we go. Okay, so now, so if you kind of get your heading gear on that, I think that's seated properly. I'm just going to check that seating on that one. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what happens now with the hydraulic clutch pushing against, as you can see, pushing against the Circlip, pushes the outer cover against the diaphragm spring, which releases the tension on the plates, so and allows the clutch to work. So there we go. That's that side of it. We can move on to our starter clutch. Now it just has its thrust washer against the back of the starter clutch. Okay, so the starter clutch is only goes one way, a bit like the clutch inside there, it only goes one way. Okay, so while the engine's running clockwise, it just freewheels. So the engine stops, we need it to turn it that way to start it, so the gear it locks that way to turn it to start it with the starter motor, but as soon as it does start, then the engine can run and this gear stays still. Right, okay, so there is a dot, and if you can see that on there, and there is a dot there on that. Now I actually don't know, obviously for timing, I actually don't know if anyone's ever put that on wrong, but if you have a think about this, if this just went on anywhere, either master spline, say it didn't have any master splines, or that just went on anywhere and put that over there, then that timing trigger is going to be completely, so if you've ever got one that didn't start or whatever, or because I don't think, looking in there, I should have checked this before I went on camera, but I don't think, and it looked like it to me, that there is a master spline. And I'm going to get the torch to make sure I've got this right. All we have is a dot to say you align me with that. Okay, so there's the dot. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this or done this, because I reckon you could easily get this wrong. So I'm looking up the splines there now, and it should show better when it's actually on. I'm just going to give it a gentle, nothing okay, that went home. Now, can you see that from there? I presume and hope you can. Now that dot there is in line with that dot there, which now tells us this trigger ready for when the pickups are installed, this trigger is in the right place. And they don't look master splined to me, so I reckon that could easily be fitted, advanced, retarded, whatever, by a tooth here or tooth there, or even just if you didn't actually know that that was there. So anyway, that's just food for thought. So okay, so I've got to go and find out the torque setting for this centre bolt. So I think for now we'll leave it at that and pick it up when we're moving forward. I mean, we're getting close now to I want to get the heads tidied up paintwork wise, etc., before, and obviously gasket face and stuff like that. So we'll pick it up, I think, when there's not much else to go in here. There's only the pickups to mount on, which are not adjustable, they're dowelled up, and obviously the wiring through the gland there to seal that up. We know we're tight here. The gear change is all done. The crank, the clutch is all assembled, and starter clutch. So we're pretty much going for done in here. Right, we'll pick it up on the next one when I've cleaned off some parts and we're ready to assemble a bit more. Okay. Okay, centre bolt soaked up. 58 to 72 I think it was. I've just put it at 65 foot-pound. Okay, so that's now torqued up. 17mm. Yeah, so let's wind off the pressure on my torque wrench. Yeah, 17mm headed bolt. So right, I just found the bag with the next stage. So let's just have a look. And as previously said before, you can use the VF750F starter motor on this engine, not on a Magna, the shaft drive engine, but on all chain drive engines. Okay, so we have 4 bolts that have had, certainly looks it to me, a little bit of Loctite on them. So anyway, so what we can do, this is our reduction gear. So as previously said, I'm not going into it, it's on one of the other videos, but you can use the VFR 750 starter motor provided you use the VFR 750 reduction gear. You don't need the clutch, the starter clutch, you just need the starter and the reduction gear, and then it tallies up. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in now and align. He says, I'll let that go on there now. Right, watch for the hole coming up. There we go. So as you can see now, perfect. Yeah, there's just 1 tooth difference on the VFR to the VF. So anyway, that's that. So we're now with our ignition pickups, which is why that has to be in the correct position in relation to the crank. Obviously, you know that if we just put that on anyhow and put it down here, the trigger would be down here and it would be firing, you know, either way advanced or way retarded, whichever way you want to look at it. So okay, so there's some old silicon, looks like Honda's possibly factory silicon on there, I don't know, but I don't actually think we could look at that. Maybe you see the doweling for the two, so there's dowels and dowels and dowels and dowels. Okay, so the dowel in there and the dowel in there, which locate in here and here and here and here, and keep it exactly, maintain the air gap between the trigger and the sensor. So we've also got the wire there for our oil pump, so I'm just going to put the wire up there for a minute and actually just sit that in there for the minute. Locate the dowels, and they should just go by hand, which that has. And by hand, which that has. Right, a nad, as they say, of Loctite. Don't want much, but at the end of the day you don't want that coming off. A little nad of Loctite, you don't want that coming off and getting in there or anywhere like that when this is running. Certainly mid corner, cranked over, arse off the seat, or anything like. Certainly won't be me doing that. That is a fact. But so you know what I mean. Anyway, you don't want it in any instance. So right, let's just have a look with our 10mm. I'm going to have to I reckon I could have got a longer extension for this. Eh? I reckon we could have got a longer one. Right. So what we'll do, just put a bit more friendly one on. What do we reckon? So I'm happy with that. Okay. Yeah. I'm happy with that. Right. We can't lose these now. Obviously this has just gone past this in clockwise rotation. So I've got pistons at the top, which tells me that this is the pickup for these two. The pistons in, what we're calling it, is it? I can't remember, is it 2 and 4 I think this is waiting to come round here, which will be at the same time in a 45 degree, whatever it is before that gets to there. Yeah, before these are at the top, so that's the trigger for these two, and that's the trigger for these two. Okay. Yeah, and we have two CDI units, if that's what they are. I'm sure that's what it is, a capacitor discharge ignition. So instead of having one that the VFR has got, with various inputs like temperature sensing, all that sort of, this has two. So it has one for, and they're not even the same shape sort of module box that they're in, which is a bit bizarre, and they live in the tailpiece. But anyway, such is life, as they say, with Honda and stuff. So so yeah, we're pretty much done in here. I mean, to be fair, I could put the cover on. I've got a new gasket for the cover. I could put the cover on and just put a little bit of 3-bond on the back of there. I think now it's mounted before I do. Having said that, there's two areas of that it's got to get past any oil to sort of come out here. But yeah, we could put the cover on, but I want to polish it a bit and repaint the cover. So I'm going to kind of leave that side. And I think the next thing we'll do is we'll pick up now on cylinder heads on and valve timing. I think that's a good place to stop, and we'll pick it up on valve timing, which is a real, you know, a real kind of crucial stage to be at. And you know, some people may not have even gone down this far. Maybe have just gone in, check the cams, or change a cam or something or whatever, and maybe just need to sort of go through a step-by-step procedure of valve timing. So we'll get on with that. Let's get it prepped and get on with that.